on as we move on to another big story. Now, the detention of Pema Wangjom, who's an India-born UK resident at Shanghai airport, has sparked a diplomatic dispute between India and China. Thong Doc said that she was detained by immigration officials while traveling from London to Japan via Shanghai because her passport lists her birthplace as the northeastern state of Arunachal Pradesh. China challenges India's claim to the region, insisting Arunachal Pradesh is its own territory and referring to it as South Tibet, a claim that India strongly rebuffs. Now, India has said that it had formally protested Thong Doc's detention and reasserted that Arunachal Pradesh is an integral and inalienable part of India. However, Thong Doc, who described the ordeal as humiliating, reached out to the Indian embassies in Shanghai and Beijing for assistance. She was freed after 18 hours of detention once Indian officials arrived at the airport and engaged with the authorities. And I want to bring back retired Major General G.G. Dwivedi into the discussion here. Now, we do know that China has long attempted to include Arunachal Pradesh in its map, and time and again India has vociferously voiced how Arunachal Pradesh remains an integral part of India, and this only seems to be the latest instance in those attempts by China. How do you see India's reaction going forward?
Well, firstly, this instance of Pema Wangjom should not be seen in isolation. It has to be seen in the larger context as to what is the Chinese policy. And I can give you my personal perception because I have served as defense attaché in China and commanded my forces on the line of actual control on the India-China border. The point is that China treats Arunachal Pradesh as South Tibet, that they call it Zhangnan, and they have not recognized the McMahon line. So therefore, they say that Arunachal Pradesh has been illegally occupied by India, and they do not accept Arunachal Pradesh our territory, and there have been instances before as well, Kriti, where they have not given access to the some of the people from Arunachal Pradesh. They always believe in stapled visa, not the passport, because they say the Arunachal Pradesh is part of China and there is no question of visa. Now the India stance is very clear, because India, accepts and recognizes McMahon line, and as per the McMahon line, the Arunachal Pradesh is part of our inalienable part of India, and that's our stated stance. But in this, 2-3 things need to be taken into cognizance. Firstly, in China, whatever happens, it has a very higher mandate or higher approval. So this instance in Shanghai cannot be seen in isolation. Secondly, during the standoff, which is even now into 6th year, in 2020 this standoff started. In fact, I commanded my battalion Chishul. As the Chinese have been, consistently, they have improved their defensive posture across the line of actual control, and the Tibet-Arunachal border is almost 1,200 kilometers. And they have also fortified Tibet by increasing military infrastructure, and in fact, President Xi Jinping has visited Tibet twice. And so they are very sensitive to Tibet and also the areas of Arunachal Pradesh which are opposite Tibet. So I think we need to take a very serious cognizance and come out very strongly that this sort of attitude by China, they only are spanners in improvement of our relationship. And over the last 2 years, after Prime Minister met Xi Jinping in, they had a one-on-one meeting in Kazan, and also lately our Prime Minister was in Shanghai for the SEO meeting. Then these sort of instances are not going to improve the relations, and they are going to in fact put the relation back. And my last point is, Chinese keep insisting that let's not put the border as part of the bilateral relations, because they are quite happy with the 100 billion trade balance that is in their favor. So they always try to underplay the border, but they have a consistent approach or a policy that keep breaking up the issue, so that they keep reiterating that Arunachal Pradesh is part of China, and that is their policy. But India must come out very strongly And I think we must not only protest, but we also must do certain action which should give a very strong message to China. Kriti.
Right. Well, given that China claims Arunachal to be a part of South Tibet, why is it not that India pushes for Aksai Chin?
Well, absolutely, because the point is that I do not want to get into the operational dimensions because that is not part of the discussion on the TV channel. But India must strengthen its defensive posture. We also must build up our capability, aggressive capability, and this should be an ongoing process. But right now, balance of forces is in favor of China. But I think we should catch up and try to narrow down this gap. And I have written extensively on these issues. The Chinese only understand the language of force, and therefore we need to strengthen our defensive posture, our defensive border management, and give a very clear message to Chinese that we are quite capable of not only defending, but also we can have aggressive capability to reclaim the land which Chinese occupied illegally, almost 38,000 kilometers in Aksai, and we should keep, reiterating our claim on the diplomatic channel, political channel, and militarily. We need to strengthen our defensive posture, and because Chinese cannot be taken on the face value, and they have been indulging in aggressive behavior off and on, and therefore they only understand one response, that is a strong military response, and India must ensure that it has a very strong defensive and a offensive capability against China. And my last point is we also need to take into consideration the nexus that is strengthening between Pakistan and China, which are amply seen during the Operation Sindoor. Kriti.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you, Retired Major General, for sharing India's perspective here at NewsX World. I request to stay on as I want to get your perspective on another key development. Now, in a major push to strengthen India's rare earth manufacturing capabilities, the Narendra Modi-led Union Cabinet in India has approved an $8.67 billion scheme to establish rare earth permanent magnet, that's REPM, production facilities. The initiative aims for a capacity of 6,000 metric tons per annum, reducing India's dependence on imports and boosting its global market position. REPMs are vital for sectors like electric vehicles, renewable energy, electronics, and defense. The plan includes $7.77 billion in sales-linked initiatives and $903 million in capital subsidies to set up the production facilities, aligning with India's net zero target by 2070, while creating jobs and enhancing self-sufficiency. And I want to bring back Retired Major General G.G. Dwivedi into the discussion. I just want to understand from you first that how much import dependence is going to decline with this push for manufacturing rare earth permanent magnets?
Well, certainly the step is in the right direction because our dependency definitely, impinges upon our strategic autonomy. And therefore, this initiative is timely. In fact, it should have come much earlier because we are highly dependent upon China, almost to the tune of 80 to 90% of our rare earth comes from there. Not only we, but the world as such is dependent. Now the point is that this is going to take time because after all the projects, when they come up, when they fructify, they get operationalized. But in time to come, our import dependency will definitely decrease, and we'll have our own, wherewithal. Because today they are, magnets. They are actually very important component of most of the manufacturing that we are engaged in. So I think that this initiative has come at the right time. But it's not going to happen anytime very soon that our import dependency will certainly drop down because these projects have a gestation period. But I think in next 5 to 7 years, we can see the impact, and these are all long-term projects. Certainly nothing is going to change, but over a period of time, definitely things will change, and it is in India's larger interest that we have our own independency, and rather we should be also exporting because we have the resources. Only thing we need to exploit these resources and there has to be a sense of urgency in this sphere, because the more dependent we are, more Atmanirbhar we are, then you are able to ensure your strategic autonomy, Kriti.
Right. Could you also help us understand the environmental consequences of this initiative?
Well, definitely, because the point is that we need to take a complete overview, because in today's environment, we are talking about sustainable development. Means while we are preserving the environment, we are also developing. So we have to take into consideration the ecosystem, what impact will have on the environment. But I am sure that all these things will be taken into consideration, because two things are very important. Firstly, in the critical arena, a nation must be self-dependent. And secondly, today technology is available, which ensures that balance between the development and sustainable development, ensuring that we do not adversely impact the environment and the ecosystem. Kriti.
All right. Thank you, retired Major General, for joining